I grew up on a hippie commune in the Emerald Triangle, raised by pot farmers. I'm what you might call second-generation cannabis. Now, in the early days of growing weed in the mountains, it was a high-risk, high-reward game. Either you got away with your harvest for another year, or you got locked up in prison. Some farmers hit the jackpot, while others got locked away and treated like criminals. These days, so much has changed in this industry, but the high-stakes nature of the business remains just as strong as ever. My name is Zack Darling, and I'm deeply passionate about building cannabis brands. In 1997, I started my first creative agency and named it Greenfield Graphics, named after the hippie commune. These days, I'm the chief eternal optimist at the Hybrid Creative, one of California's top cannabis branding and marketing agencies. Now, in the 9 years that we've been taking hydroponics and cannabis brands to market, we've seen renegade farmers go from criminals to brilliant entrepreneurs. If you knew the backstory of many of the founders of the biggest brands in cannabis these days, you'd think they're borderline crazy for taking the kind of risks that made them successful now. But unfortunately, for every success story, there are a multitude of failures. Small cannabis brands are shutting down like crazy, and with regulation and taxes, we're finding cultivators beelining for the black market. The high-stakes nature of this business may be less likely to put you in jail, but they can be crushing nonetheless. If you're starting a new brand in this highly competitive marketplace, it is vital you get it right from the beginning. This is your chance. This is your chance to rise up, to turn heads, and to create a loyal following of customers devoted to your brand. Entrepreneurs, we need you, and we need you to do it right. Now, there are some specific steps that the most successful brands in cannabis have made to make them successful, and today I'm going to share a number of those secrets with you. Some of these are just inherent to any brand strategy, while some are very specific to cannabis. These are my 10 steps to creating a strong cannabis brand. So where do you start? Well, the beloved motivational speaker and author Simon Sinek believes that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So where do you start? You start with why. You see, many brands can tell you what they do, and they know all about what they do and what they sell, and some can actually tell you how they do what they do. But very few, and you'll find that most of the successful ones out there can very clearly tell you why they do what they do. That's their value proposition, that's their brand promise, that's the vision and the values of their business. It's the essence of why they exist. Their why is not to make money, that's a result. Their why is the human element of their business, the thing that resonates with you. See, the difference between an average brand and a strong brand is purpose. Purpose-driven brands don't just build customers, they build loyal fans. They build people who are going to stay with that brand through thick and thin. They'll save their money to be able to afford it when they go into that dispensary. They'll buy that brand when they're in a recession, when times are tight. They buy that brand not just because of the quality of the product, they buy it because they believe in something. Your why is what follows the words, "we believe." Purpose-driven brands make you feel something deeper inside, and they make you want to be a part of it. Why? Why do you want to be a part of these purpose-driven brands? I'm sure you can think of a number of brands that you're loyal to, that you just never try anything else. It's because they are trying to create change. They are creating change in the world, and we as people love being a part of change. They're trying to change the status quo. They're trying to change health standards. They're trying to change quality of life. All of these are very true for cannabis brands, and you'll find that the most successful ones out there that have the most die-hard, devoted fans have very well articulated their why and their purpose for being. So always start there. Next, be authentic. Cannabis, like many other industries, is a consumer-driven economy. Let's take an example of a person who's a first-time user. They ask around to their friends and family about what's going to be a good place to start with cannabis. They give them a bunch of recommendations. They go into a dispensary and are just flooded with all sorts of different brands and packaging and marketing and messaging, and they're trying to make a decision. So they go to their bud tender, and the bud tender, who knows what they're talking about, informs them. And that person tries that new product, and they try it. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but the next time, they're more informed, and they've learned more. And they go back, and they go back, and they go back and fine-tune and curate their own cannabis experience. These consumers are defining what they want. And when you are anything less than 100% authentic, they will find out. Take, for example, the Emerald Cup It's a cup here in Northern California for organic outdoor flower. Well, one year they didn't have enough time to get all of the test results done, and they handed out a number of awards, but then did the testing afterwards. There were a bunch of brands that actually won awards, but they found that they had pesticides in them. The kind of fallout in brand equity that they had after that, by even being entered into an organic event like this, and then finding out that they had pesticides, was detrimental. And I'm sure they lost a lot of audience loyalty. If you were to make one thing your cornerstone in building your brand, it's authenticity. And I would recommend never, ever compromising on that. Next, differentiate. I don't know how many times we've had people come to our agency and want us to build a brand on the fact that they are high quality or they're consistent. There was a time in which that really differentiated you, but these days we call them minimum standards. You have to find something different about yourself, the culture of your business, the place that you're from, the farm that you've grown it from, your process in making it happen, the people that you're speaking to, the audience that you want to motivate, the change you want to create in the world. These are the things that are going to differentiate you. Because right now, cannabis is a busy marketplace, and there are so many brands out there that are basing themselves on the quality of their product, the consistency of their product, their what. Again, the best way to differentiate yourself is finding and articulating your why. The next is to resonate. This really has to do with finding that target demographic, that target audience. If you're starting a new cannabis brand and you're like, I want to have old people and young people, and I want to have every different walk of life and different demographic, everybody's going to love my brand. You know the problem with that? If you're everything to everyone, you aren't something to someone. And when you're something to someone, then you resonate with that person. You believe in the same things. You like the same culture. You like the same, you value the same things in life. And when that person finds a brand that they resonate with and they work on this frequency and you work on that same frequency, you've created harmony with that customer. And that harmony becomes the fabric of loyalty. And loyalty is long-term devotion and fandom within your customers. So don't be afraid to pick a niche market. If you're going to go for the elderly market, speak to them. If you're going to go for the REI outdoor shopper, or if you're going to go, everybody wants to sell to the Whole Foods shopper. That's a little broad, but find people that are into yoga. Find people that are into outdoor sports. Find people that have pain that they want to have ailed or have fixed. If you resonate with that target demographic, they will be loyally yours. Next is break the stereotype. Cannabis has had enough years being identified with the stoner archetype of Cheech and Chong and old High Times and a lot of the various kind of media archetypes that have defined us for so long. When was the last time that anyone, had a chance to define a new industry? Was it Prohibition? Well, alcohol was already legal before that. It went underground for a while and came back. Not really the same thing. Maybe cell phones or the internet, those had years to evolve. I can't think of another time in which we've had an industry that's gone from complete black market, from complete shutdown, to all of a sudden charging forward into the light as a major economic driver in our economy. So it's our responsibility as entrepreneurs to define this brand as being something sophisticated, something conscious, something that's aware of this the state of the world, something that reflects the human condition, a brand that's responsible, that cares, and that values the same values that everybody else does. Because if we destigmatize this brand, we will be achieving that $80 million or $80 billion a year mark that in 2020 that people are speculating, and we'll break the ceiling off all of that, because if we demystify cannabis and define it as something beautiful, something responsible, then we've truly done our job to define this new industry. Next, don't slack on creative. I can't tell you how many times people have come to us and they've been farmers and they've spent all their time and effort on building out their cultivation facility and building that warehouse and getting it all set up and putting in the sprinkler systems and getting their compliance together and buying that license, and they're chugging through on their process and their project, and they're about to have a ton of flower ready to be put in. Oh wait, we got to get our creative going. We need a brand. we need our packaging. There's a brand brawl. coming to the cannabis industry. And the people who are going to be winning that brand brawl are the ones who have invested the time and the energy in building a powerful brand. And just as much as your product and your warehouse and your extraction facility and everything that you've put into actually creating the product itself is important, building out the ethos and the spirit of that brand and the design and the look and the feel and following these steps is just as important. Don't wait till afterwards, because you're going to be sitting on a lot of product waiting for it to be filled and waiting to build that brand out. They have to happen simultaneously, so beautifully when you finally are harvesting that product or finishing those extracts, that you've got your packaging and your branding and your messaging and your marketing and your website all coming together at that perfect pinnacle point of launch. Next, do the research. We are so fortunate to finally be at a time in this industry in which there's actually data for us to be making decisions on. Data-driven decisions are powerful decisions. BDS Analytics, ArcView, New Frontier, and Headset are wonderful resources that are available to us now to be able to find true, strong, powerful data about customer trends, about buying decisions, about the market and how it's moving. And when you can actually base your business decisions on strong data, you're going to be so much more powerful. But be careful. There's a lot of hearsay in this industry, and bad data is dangerous. So do the research and make smart decisions. Also, protect your mark. I would recommend hiring a cannabis-specific branding and trademark attorney when it comes to naming your brand. Naming your brand can be a very important part of the process, and it's vital to get it right. We call them potty brands when they're Canna this, or Farms that, or Sticky this, or Green that. Trust me, every cannabis or potty type brand that's out there has been named, it's been taken, that real estate is done. Don't even try, because you're just going to get lost in the noise of much more powerful brands out there. Find your why. Name your brand on your why, on your purpose, on the things that you believe, on the things that's going to resonate with that audience. That name is going to be stronger, and the chances are that it's not already taken by somebody else. Imagine this. Everybody's living in their state bubbles at this point, right? So when this industry becomes a federal industry or an international industry, these walls between the states are going to be disappearing. Do you know how many people have the same name of the same cannabis business in different states that are going to end up with a cease and desist letter from some other stronger brand that's been at it longer? Make a name that nobody else has made, and make sure you work with a cannabis, trademark, and intellectual property attorney to help you make sure that it's protected for a long-term strategy, because it's going to be very expensive if you have to change and pivot the name of your brand after you've already invested so much into building it out. And with that, think local, plan national. Now, the bubbles, like I said, are going to pop. People are projecting in a few years or so that interstate commerce is going to begin. And trust me, internationally has already started. Canada and Germany and Switzerland and Australia and New Zealand and all over Europe, they're doing cannabis business together. And they're just waiting for the United States to come around and get our act together. But if you look at the really strong brands in cannabis right now, they're preparing for that international shift. They're building strategic partners in other states. They're licensing their brand where they're sending their packaging and their marketing and everything over state lines, which is not illegal. And they're having somebody else grow that cannabis and build that product based on their secret sauce, on their secret formula, their IP. And they are becoming an international brand. If you have the opportunity to build partners and build friendships with other people in other states that you can join forces with to make a national brand, that is going to make you a long-term sustainable business when things go federal. And finally, tell your story. Your brand story is so valuable. It's this narrative that talks about who you are. You know, if you look through successful brands, their Instagram or their social media, you'll see there's a story there. There's a culture within that company, the people that are working there, the smiles, the customer experiences. It all roots once again from that why, from that purpose. And if you can tell that story through a beautiful narrative, through powerful words, through articulation from a higher place that shows respect to that target audience, you're going to find that they are going to tell that story. And your customers are going to tell that stories to other people. And your employees are going to share it with other people. And if it's motivating and it's strong, it will continue to live a life of its own. Well, as I said before, if you're starting a new brand in this highly competitive marketplace, it's vital you get it right from the beginning. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Entrepreneurs, we need you. and we need you to get it right. And with these steps to building a strong cannabis brand, I hope you take them to create your own version of success. Thank you.